Welcome to 1000 PS TV. A long-awaited comeback is finally taking place. But can the 790 Duke still beat the much stronger competition as it did in the past? The 7 comparison brings the answer. A big jolt went through the naked bike middle class when the 790 Duke celebrated its world premiere in 2018. Suddenly there was a lightweight Duke with 2 cylinders, 105 horsepower and full electronics package at an incredibly attractive price. And indeed, the success was great, and we at 1000 PS couldn't help but acquire one and realize one of our range-topping tune-up projects with it. After sovereign seasons, the changeover to Euro 5 put an end to the 790 models. Now it's back as an A2 compliant entry-level Duke. So in 2023, we finally get to ride a 790 Duke again. The biggest difference from the old 790 at first glance, but which turns out not to be that big at all at second glance, is that the manufacturing of the 790 Duke 2023 will be done entirely in China. The 790 is the first result of the joint venture with CF Moto, which has been in existence since 2015. Briefly outlined, KTM has spent years building the production line for the 790 1-to-1 in China, sending staff there to oversee the process, and meticulously turning all the screws to achieve a satisfactory result. The full implementation of this process was another reason why we had to wait a little longer for the return of the 790 Duke, which was originally announced for the second half of 2022. All in all, this wait has paid off. The workmanship and the look and feel are indistinguishable from the more expensive 890 models that are still manufactured in Austria. Engine-wise, nothing is the same, but the LC8C is still a great engine. The persistent rumor that they simply lifted the old 790 parallel twin over the Euro 5 hurdle and cut 10 horsepower from it is completely wrong. Rather, they took the Euro 5 compliant 890 engine and removed 100 cubic centimeters from it. Thus, the maximum torque even grew by 1 Nm compared to the 2018 model. The maximum output is set at 95 horsepower to allow throttling down to an A2 compatible 48 horsepower. In practice, however, we trust the engine to be much more. It is clearly the most potent in our 7 series comparison. Let's get to the equipment of the KTM 790 Duke 2023. The proven components remain unchanged compared to the old 790. The WP Apex suspension both front and rear, as well as the extensive electronics package with lean angle-dependent traction control, cornering ABS with Supermoto mode, 3 standard riding modes and a dry weight of 169 kg. On the 1000 PS scales we determined 187 kg fully fueled-enabled unclouded accessible riding fun. The chassis is of average quality. Competitors like the Suzuki GSX-8S can do better in the meantime. Only optionally available 2023 features are the Track Mode and the Quickshifter Plus. The latter is a real recommendation if you want to enjoy the sporty aspect of the bike to the fullest. The KTM 790 Duke is equipped with a brake system from Brembo's subsidiary J1 as standard. At the front, it has a single brake disc with a diameter of 300 mm, which is decelerated by a radially mounted 4-piston caliper. At the rear, a single brake disc with a diameter of 240 mm and a 2-piston caliper is installed. It only meets the high demands made by the potent engine by using relatively high manual force. Other, sharper brake pads could mitigate this circumstance. To KTM's credit, especially in view of the 790 Duke's A2 suitability, there is no extra charge for safety-relevant features such as lean angle-dependent traction control and cornering ABS. In fact, it is the only machine in the test field that offers these features. Aprilia has sent the Chiono 660 factory for comparison, which also offers these electronic aids, but you won't find them on the standard version, which can be throttled down to A2. I already noticed during the test of the KTM 890 Duke GP that its 115 horsepower is enough for me, and that I don't really need the 890 Duke R with even more HP. Now I have to revise this statement as well. Even the KTM 790 Duke is enough for me. Simply marvelous how powerfully the Row 2 pushes from below, in the center power builds up and also turns out above still marvelously. In this septet, it is even the most powerful engine in terms of displacement and torque, and for me, overall, the most fun engine that also sounds really cool. The suspension is high quality, the brakes pack a punch, and the seating position is very front wheel oriented without becoming uncomfortable. With all the sportiness, the Quickshifter Plus would basically be mandatory. But fortunately our test specimen did not have one installed, and I could once again enjoy the formidable smoothness of a KTM transmission. The 790 Duke is expensive enough without this feature. In this comparison, only the Aprilia Tuono 660 costs more. But since the Edge can actually compete in a class higher, it is well worth it. Oh yes, it should not have anything to do directly with the fact that the 790 Duke is manufactured entirely in China. But it was very bizarre that starting with the gear engaged only worked when the handlebars were turned to a certain position. In neutral it worked flawlessly. Conclusion on the KTM 790 Duke 2023. The 790 Duke is still a really crisp package. The engine clearly stands out from the competition and can be called the best in its class. Compared to its predecessor, features that unfortunately have to be paid extra deprive the 790 of the title of price-performance miracle, and that despite being manufactured in China. Nevertheless, the lightweight Duchess is a lot of fun on twisty terrain. Only the brake could bite a little sharper. To make sure you don't miss a video of the 7-part comparison in the upcoming future, subscribe to our channel and stay tuned.